Hey everyone, welcome back. We're back here reviewing episode 3 of Star Wars Acolyte. This is a new show on Disney Plus right now, and this is episode 3 after the 2 episode premiere last week. And this is a big one. If you've been watching online, everybody been going back and forth about this, the themes that they did in this episode, and I have not shared my thoughts on this at all, but I got a few people here, also fellow experts in this field and everything. Got Jay King and Ant. How you guys doing?
Hey.
Jay King, how you doing?
Good. Let's not beat around the bush when it comes to this episode. Let's just get straight into it.
Are you traumatized? Am I sense a disturbance in the force over here.
Yeah.
Maybe. No.
Yeah. So, yeah, guys, this was a this there's a lot to talk about here, but yeah, we're gonna get into it. Obviously, expecting this is a spoiler of episode 3 of Star Wars Acolyte. So this episode is a flashback that's focusing on the twin sisters, May and Osha, and basically their upbringing in terms of them growing up. And when you realize that where they're from is that they're actually part of a coven, or I should say, of witches. And wondering where they, actually are, whether the witches of Dathomir, whatever, we don't know. They don't really say that, but they are a faction of witches wherever in the galaxy and stuff. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, they actually said that it's not the same witches of Dathomir. This is an entirely different coven.
So
yeah,
I was wondering about that.
Go ahead.
So did everybody watch Tales of the Empire?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I was very disappointed with Tales of the Empire compared to Tales of the Jedi, which I really enjoyed. But they introduced a new faction of the witches into that in the backstory of what's the villain from Ahsoka? You know what I'm talking about? You had the Night Sisters, and they introduced another tribe in the mountain that seemed to be like a little closer to light side users than the traditional witches, right?
Corbin, Ellis,
Elspeth, something like that.
Yeah, and she like came at the end with another
Morgan Elspeth.
Right.
Yeah,
sorry. And I was like, that was a really odd act. That was a big extra, and they came with a new type of power, and I was like, oh, that was a big lore change. Are we just gonna drop it here? And then we see this clan of witches, and so I assume that they're either another offshoot of Dathomirian Night Sisters, or they're part of that other new tribe that we got to see in Tales of the Empire.
Yeah, there's a lot of new things that were delving here to again because I knew the witches Dathomir and also Morgan Elspeth. Like I understand that, especially Tales of the Empire, but also Clone Wars definitely fleshed that out in terms of other aspects of the Force and the galaxy and things like that that were not really explained well in the movies or really weren't delved into, but they were in Star Wars lore pre-Disney. But post Disney, there's a lot of things that got added into this. And I actually want you to give your thoughts on this episode, and I go to Jay King, and I'll give my thoughts, and we kind of just go jump off from there. But yeah, what was your thoughts overall with this episode?
I think there's a lot of changes. I think there's a lot of nonsensical things. I think so. First of all, I think this is a perspective piece. I think this will be Osha's perspective. I think we've talked about it other places, and that's fine. I just think the writing's not there. I think they wanted to do this mystery thriller type thing. They said, I think eventually they said initially they said they wanted to do like a Kill Bill with Frozen. But you really haven't made the Jedi the bad guys. And I think that could have been easily done, even if they had good intentions. You really haven't set them up. I don't care when they die. So you get to this episode and you try to frame them as children snatchers when that's not what they did. And again, because every person that does a different Star Wars show changes how the Force works, there's really no stakes. So it's just nonsensical in a lot of places, and the writing. But even if they did their own thing and they changed a bunch of stuff, if the writing was strong, no one would complain. and the writing just isn't there. It just isn't there. I hope they bring it together, but I don't see it.
J. King, what was your thoughts on this?
Well, basically, to summarize it, okay. Basically, to summarize it, ever since they started introducing a whole lot of elements, like new elements, not just with the Force, but with other sides of the galaxy we haven't explored yet, be it in the prequels, sequels, past that, Disney Plus shows, whatever the hell. I knew that there was going to be points where we would see how other people view the Force or how they interpret it or how their certain connection unlocks different things, much like how the Sith have stuff that's unnatural. These witches have their own shit. So it's like me seeing different sides to it is the reason why I'm not too upset at that part. Yes, it introduces a lot that is like, okay, where was this when this happened, especially when this takes place 100 years prior to anything we've seen before. And I know that could be very frustrating to some people. It's just like, bro, stay consistent, stay with one thing. But it's like, this galaxy has given us way too much at this point for it to be just stuck to one thing. I like the original trilogy and I like what it has done, but a lot of Star Wars is not the same as it used to be. And that's just something that people have to accept, that it's going to change. There's going to be new elements that they're going to change. There's going to be new stuff that new writers and directors want to introduce. Whether it makes sense to what was done before or not is to be determined on the writing. Yes, not all of the dialogue has been great. Not all of it. I never expected Andor level writing with the show, but at least with the show, so the show is keeping me intrigued. That's the thing with these. Like, the show is still keeping me intrigued with everything, even if some things are easy to see. I don't think that when I'm watching that, I'm just okay. What's the story going to be today? That's really just me at this point.
Yeah. I think there were good points that you made there. But for me, this might come, to shock to people, to this, but I actually liked the episode.
You serious?
Nah, I'm not. But I almost got you though. No. Okay. So first of all, let's just take the base level here. The relationship of twins in Star Wars is something that I'm a sucker for. That I'm just gonna let you know. I played Battlefront, the original Battlefront. I played the other video game. Right, the Fright. Right. So obviously, with the original trilogy with Luke and Leia, also with Legends when it came to Jason and Jaina Solo, like those things, I was like, I'm a sucker for twins and seeing, hey, one's light side, one dark side, love it. And even like the Old Republic video game that they done with that cinematic they had on YouTube, awesome, love that. But now with that, okay, with showing that, okay, this is a all group of women aside for who've been exiled from a coven of witches and stuff like that. Now, whether it be explored, they were exiled from Dathomir, because I believe one of them was a Dathomirian. At least one of them had to be like that.
Well, one of them was the same
Earthing mother, right?
Yes.
Yeah, one of them was the same race as Dark Maul's people. Well, one of those races. So most likely.
Right. But we see this explored, and also going to new aspects of the Force, talking about the thread, of that, saying that it surrounds us and binds us and stuff. And she's saying, well, people call it the Force, we call it the thread and everything. Now, having the approach face value of exploring and pushing the Force, again, that's something that I was intrigued with and I'm open to. Now going into also a aspects of giving the virgin birth of children by the Force, whatever, that is something that I'll get into in a second. But I felt, okay, again, new concept of the Force, giving different perspective of how we're able to use the Force, when even if you're not a Jedi or not, that the Force surrounds us and binds us, that we're able to tap into it. If just like in religion, we train, we study it, and also if we have that given ability to access that in a way beyond the average person, then yeah, there's other ways where people can use that in the story, just like with religion. People make factions of, of Christianity, factions of different, religions and everything throughout court of history, and also even points of origin saying, well, we're Christians, but you guys are not, or something like that. We're believers of this faith, but you guys are religious zealots or something like that. You guys do it something different, which is the same way what happened with the Mandalorian, what happened with Din Djarin with his clan or everything, that they were basically zealots viewed by the entire Mandalorian race, even from the royal family, when they're saying like, no, we can take our helmets off. Like, no, it's against the way. Same thing. But on base value, if my wife was watching this, even though she watched Ahsoka for me, which was like her first Star Wars, everything, I'm trying to drag her through the films and everything like that. To me, just even as a critic, just knowing just basic forms of storytelling, I'm feeling that points of the plot is not connecting very well, and just in this episode, but especially just from the previous building up from the previous episode to this, dragged on. I felt some scenes that were kind of unnecessary, and then there's not no shot at the kids, but I think also certain scenes weren't really directed well in terms of how to convey emotion or moments that were happening, and like it, and exposition heavy. Yes, one thing I'm not opposed to that, but I just put a base value, boring. Like I don't mean that it's like saying, oh, I can't take exposition. I was just bored. I was literally skipping, like watching this like 20 minutes before I even started this review. I'm like, let me just skip. I'm just going through it and everything. Okay, I get it. All right, let me get going through here, and it keep getting dragged on, and dragged on, and to a point that if I wasn't invested as I am, because obviously I have to review it, I would turn this mess off. Because I just no point where I have on any of the characters aside from Soul, who I see he is holding this entire show on his back, in my opinion. I think that I think a general consensus of everybody thinking that Soul is the best character of this show, but at the same time, one character is not enough to hold the entire weight of this show, and you can see it. And I can just tell, like, yeah, I was just kind of just bored with it. And have no investment on any of the characters. I'm not, and unfortunately, no disrespect, I really don't care about the with Osha and this is a dynamic with her sister and stuff, because at this point, it just like I'm not saying obviously have time to build up to me and actually care, but I just like what you're giving to me is like I'm not attached to them aside from they're twins, one's light, one's dark. Okay, surface level, great. On paper, I'm reading that, great. But as I'm watching, at least in this first 3 episodes, but this particularly, we're trying to get the origin, I'm like, it's nothing for me here, because I feel like it's dragged on. No. But yeah.
And then they're doing a lot of things, and it's like all these different stories, but they're not really telling any of them well. And you could tell a story about 2 twins, and one being more prone to dark side use or giving into emotions, and the other one wanting to do this other thing. Like, and let me be clear, when I say they're changing things, there's always been in lore. Jason Solo traveled around the galaxy and learned bunch from different Force cultures or religions, and brought that back when he was when his Padawan was Ben Skywalker. Like that's always been a thing, and that's not an issue, right? You can do that. I think the issue, and I'm gonna give Disney a little bit of a pass on this. I think before George sold it, a lot of this stuff was just in his head, right? I don't think there was a Star Wars Bible. I think he came down and was like, yeah, you can do this and you can do that. And oh, by the way, there's this thing called the wills. You can put that in the background somewhere on a scroll or something like that. And I think when he sold it, I think you have different people doing different things, because we have one show. Anybody remember when Mother Talzin was trying to steal Force users' Force to make herself a Force user?
Exactly.
But then you go to Ahsoka, and because they want Sabine to be a Jedi, no, if you just want it bad enough, you can use the Force. And then you come over here, all witches are not Force users. Most of them are doing Force magic, not using direct Force powers. But if you was to watch this show, you'd assume all witches are just using the Force. They can just do more with it. And so if you don't have a understanding or understanding whether this is a loose magic system or a concrete magic system or what that magic system is in any story, it's hard to have stakes. Because even in the last episode, when she got away by putting the dust cloud up, every iteration of Jedi I've ever seen get trained, one of the first things they do is train without their sight since they're around it. So you telling me I got masters here and Padawans and she does a dust cloud to get away? Come on. Nobody rolled out. Nobody was like, force doesn't do that. That was almost ridiculous. Now people were talking about the fire in space. Well, it's sci-fi fantasy. That what got me, because if you don't have a standard of what can be done, there's really no stakes. There's nothing clever to get around the rules of your universe, right? So I don't know. That's what I have an issue when they're adding things in and they don't really think about how that affects everything else in the world. They didn't think in Ahsoka. They didn't think about, oh yeah, if you use the Force, you just gotta want it bad enough. Well, what was Moff Gideon? Is that was that oh crap right, Moff Gideon, was that him from Better Call Saul? Moff Gideon,
yeah, Moff Gideon, yes,
yeah,
yes.
Okay. Why was he trying to get baby Grogu and try to? You got to think of if you're working in if you're working in an established universe, it's okay to add things to it, but you kind of have to make it make sense in the world. Or people might not realize when they were liking Game of Thrones or House of Dragon, they might understand the mythos behind everything that made it 3D, but it's there, and you see the effects, and it kind of makes it more tangible. And I'm ranting, but I think that's what this shows are having an issue with. They need a Bible, a show Bible, and they need like somebody, a creative leader in place to be like, yeah, that doesn't work there, but you can do this. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, J. King, what is your thoughts on this? Because like I understand, like the one hand I'm not, and one of my expressing my criticism is I'm not talking about a society of group of women or what they call it. Well, I saw lesbian witches who can impregnate themselves, like but like I mean seriously, but like right, and I'm not getting that because I think there was things that were missing from this episode, which I think. Not trying to give a saving grace, but at the same time, possibly it'd be like, oh no, she probably didn't start the fire or something. Might have been something else. Like she didn't kill a fire, then just knock all those women out and just like, just like, and so like that just happened. Oh, like, come on. And, but anyway, but this is also the issue I had was the switch of, okay, May as a child. I understand knowing, like children and everything, twins are tied together and stuff is one thing. But like, and I know eventually you'll have children. I understand deal with that. But like the whole time, really, in this episode, when it came to May, like every time that her decisions that she was making, what she was saying, my entire reaction was this.
I am sick. I am sick of your shit. And when I'm not sick, I'm tired. I am sick and tired.
Yeah, because like the fact that, hey, you can't leave. I'm gonna unalive you. Like, bitch, you're 6.
That escalated quickly.
I'm just like, wait, what?
I honestly thought they were gonna reference. I thought the poison plants were the Chekhov gun of that episode, and she was gonna be like, "Well, no, I'll just make it so they, they'll all be knocked out. I know just enough to use or something like that." And maybe it just went awry. I didn't expect I'm gonna burn you to death, and somehow her force power is to make concrete burn. So
right, seriously, right, and being drawn. I mean, listen, I understand they had their big color purple moment at the beginning. Like that's it. I get that, but we're sisters, we're one, all that stuff. Yeah, amen. And I get it, but like it was just like the switch of it. It's not like I understand she's strong in the Force and things like that, but it was getting like, okay, you were just getting that aggressive with her. It wasn't even like implied like, oh, like, well, I understand you guys might be tethered or anything, but it might be due to the same situation they did with with the Kylo and Rey, that they were just a force dyad, or what you call it, and stuff. But what they were saying with the mother saying that, yeah, I created them but I carried them, and I was like, so what does that imply, like, in the future of things and stuff? And I don't think that disqualifies Anakin, in my opinion, but to the degree it kind of does, though.
You got to explain this, because for most of Star Wars, even before Disney bought it, creating a Force user baby was hard. Like, creating a Force user was cloning them, whatever. You had a chance of them going crazy, or you have to do like 30 clones to get one Star Killer,
right,
or whatever.
Force Unleashed 1 and 2. They like there were several.
Right. And so, like, that's a big thing. And it could be a story. There are bones here that the story could have been really good. I'm not taking away from, there was bones of this that could be really good. I just think it was just executed poorly. And I even think that I was watching Jessie Gender, who I love her channel. Her chats are really open to everybody's perspective and things like that. But she was like, yeah, the Jedi were coming to snatch kids. I was like, the Jedi weren't coming in to snatch kids. they could test the kids. And it's okay for the witches to be like, no, we've been dragged out of our home. I don't want you testing my kid. But another thing that Disney is doing that doesn't make sense. So in old lore, it was an honor to be chosen by the Jedi. And if the parents didn't want them to be trained by the Jedi, their babies to take them to be trained by the Jedi, it just didn't happen. But because you weren't trained, your Force muscles pretty much atrophied, or your ability to use the Force just lessened. So you weren't going to be like a major walking disaster. But in Disney, they've treated the Force like a mutant power. Like, you turn 13, you can move a broom, or you can, raise boulders. And so, like, in a society, if it was like that, and you had empathic, telepathic, telekinetic, highly susceptible to this other power people walking around, you're gonna have to have some kind of regulation. Like, it's a thing.
I don't know, but J. King, what was your thoughts on it? I'm like, because I'm not trying to jump on the bandwagon. I just a little.
If you love the show, I am glad you love the show. I don't want to take anything away from anybody's loving the show, because I have an issue with it. I want people to enjoy their art, and an art is subjective. You know what I mean? So look, if you love it, love it. You buy the toys, the t-shirt, whatever. I support you fully.
Well, to answer multiple things from there, first off,
sorry, I ranted.
It's all right. But I'm not necessarily loving it. It's not the best. Like, I have my favorite Star Wars show at this moment in time. This, I'm just enjoying it. Doesn't mean I love it, because, again, I see flaws within the story. I'm just liking it at the time. I can just, like, at least, like, it doesn't irritate me. But what I'll say in terms of the whole, first off, that whole, like, oh, I'm gonna kill you moment, I think it perfectly came into my mind, like, okay, this is not May. I think something is definitely up, and this has to be not fully her influence. Yeah, I feel like, if anything, one of the mothers or the Acolyte himself, whose face we still have not seen, potentially in a similar way to how they infected the Padawan in this episode, and potentially might also lead to the reasons as to how all those witches ended up getting clapped, is the same reason that May just went full. The same reason May just went full on killer mode, like, instantly on her sister. So I feel like there's definitely again, we're definitely going to because I remember the showrunner saying it's going to be one of those instances where we will see the story from another perspective in the coming episode. So we're definitely going to see how that happened and who influenced it. We're going to get those answers that are still lingering after this. I do know the showrunner said that. But yeah, in terms of just the whole, like, Force, like, everybody use it, and also know, like, Force dyads that they've been introduced since, like, full trilogy.
Sorry.
I agree with you, Mike, in saying it doesn't take away from Anakin. I can understand, though, how it would kind of make at least Anakin's situation not as, much as it used to be until, they introduced this. That really just comes with, again, it comes with the territory of, like, wanting to tell stories. And again, as I said before, there is a these two twins mirror the two sides of Anakin, his good adventurous side and everything else. Like they both mirror a part of him that, again, it's basically Anakin all over again, but if you separated the two. So we'll see how they want to go with that. You know, it depends on how they want to go with these twins and their whole story. But in terms of the Force and could everybody use it, I think we much rather accept what they're trying to do from this show more so than they did with Ahsoka. As much as I don't have a problem with the show Ahsoka, one of the things that I did not like was, you know, saying that, oh, it's like, yes, we know the Force lives through every single living being, but only certain few have the ability to actually manipulate it. And so Sabine going from a Mandalorian to, you know, a Force user, and yes, she has wielded a lightsaber before. I'm not saying she shouldn't do that, or the darksaber, whatever. It's just going from that big a leap was a problem. But here it's like, it's pretty clear, even though some people may still get confused, it's pretty clear that that's witch magic, but these twins have the potential to also access the Force because, I don't know, midichlorians. Like we'll get answers to that later. Again, I still feel like there is, and again, as you said, there is a lot that the story is not giving us yet. There's a lot that they could say, and there's a lot that could happen that can either make or break this show. The show is still in a make or break situation right now, where it's like certain things that it could get to later on could save the show, but then there's also that those things could also break the show, and we haven't reached that point yet. It's teetering for a lot of fans, but we haven't reached that point yet, you know. And like, throw away all the people saying their woke comments, throw that bullshit away. In terms of the stuff that's actually teetering it about how the story is going to go, we shall see. Because again, I keep hearing again from the showrunner that episode 5 is going to be the one everyone's going to be talking about, and I'm just thinking, is that going to be a good or a bad thing?
Right.
Like,
I think you're.
Is it going to be for a good reason or a bad reason that everyone's going to be talking about episode 5? Is it going to be like how we were all talking about episode 5 of X-Men 97? Or is it going to be like a moment where, is it going to be The Last of Us 2 all over again of people just like, I'm done?
I think you're right, and I think that good writing can save anything. You know what I mean? And maybe somebody else in our chats that said something like, it could, the couple episodes could put everything into focus, and you're like, oh, this all came together. It didn't make sense there, but it all came together. I think you're right about. I think there's some kind of illusion. I'd be very surprised if the other mother didn't have something to do with this, or whatever. There could be something. Before I saw the actual show, I was like, well, they said some things. I wonder if this is going to lead into the seeds of 60 or 66 or whatever. Like because of no, it wasn't that. It was when the guy was like, you can't break them, you can't use knives or blasters. I don't think he's talking about individual Jedi. I think he's talking about the Jedi as a whole, like putting cracks into the order and how they interact with society. I think that's a good story. If the twins were a prototype of Anakin, that could be a good story. Like if they're trying to manufacture the chosen one prophecy to bring down the Jedi, but the twins were the I don't know if prototypes, but you know what I'm saying? Like they maybe the test run of this. You know what I mean?
The first trial of like, could this actually work?
Right. And we don't know how many other things or why they were driven out from their place. I think those are all can be very interesting story threads. I think just for me, the writing hasn't been there. But again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope, and this isn't towards you, it's just towards everybody as a whole. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that I come at how many episodes of this whole series?
I do not remember. Let me.
I believe 8. I believe 8.
It's probably
8 or 9. 8
Okay,
or 9.
so I hope by episode 8, I'm like, man, King, you were right. I need to wait until the end of this thing and get that feel good feeling. Because I love Star Wars. I've loved Star Wars for all my life. You know what I mean? So I want to love it. And just because this show didn't hit everything for me, I also don't think it's like the worst thing ever. Or if you're complaining because there's a tribe of women witches, Force users, there's been a tribe. These witches have been, a variation of these witches have been in Star Wars at least for 30, 40 years. It's like, one of the book series, one of my favorite one, I'm blanking her name right now, is one of the witches that turned a Jedi. She lost her arm because her lightsaber blew up in the books. I think she dated Jason for a while. Anyway, this is a great culture. Every time they show up in a game, I get excited. Every time they have something in Clone Wars, I get excited. You know, so if you're complaining about that, you're missing the point. And if the creators came in here and they got excited because, oh wow, there's a female order in this, like, and I wanna write about them. I want that passion in these projects. You know what I mean? I need to make sure that you're considering, because if they exiled themselves, the original Night Sisters had a population of men to keep populating, right? But even that could be a story hook. All right, maybe they exile themselves is like, well, we don't need that population of men anymore. We can just, if we can do this, create these force babies, we can self-repopulate and dictate gender or something like that. All these could be good stories. Just because something.
When you brought up the whole, like, you know, using them, like, you know, to repopulate, I don't know why, but I just got Mad Max flashbacks.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all right. I'm really passionate about Star Wars, so I'll rant a lot. So, like, if I'm talking too much, let me know. But
it's all good. No. I gotta get you back on here. But yeah, no, seriously. Because I needed to have both of you guys on this, because this was something I was feeling. Because like I'm kind of, you know, I'm represent the balance where it's like, yes, I'm like, I didn't mind the last 2 episodes. The choreography is great, but then I was like, wait, hold up. There's one in the middle. I'm the one in the middle, right? All right. But yeah, and right, I'm just missing my context, you know, and stuff, you know, representing the gray, you know, in the middle. But anyway, yeah, guys, we'll be back again next week. Make sure you guys hit the notification bell.
Can I say one thing? One last thing before we leave. Sorry, not to interrupt you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love this, where we can come as fans and just talk about it from different perspectives, what we like, what we didn't like, and we don't have to agree. We can just be fans having a geek debate about a franchise we love. It doesn't have to be like political parties where you're evil or I'm evil or whatever, because, you know, that we could leave all the isms out there, leave all the hate out there, and just let's be fans. And we don't have to be fans of every aspect of a franchise to have a good debate. You know, I don't know. Does that make sense? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, it 100% makes sense.
No, you're absolutely right. And my wife was talking about it because, again, in the group chat that some of y'all now on have the privilege to be on, this is you're seeing all ages, you know, of different generations going at it. And that's why I added J. King on there, because, like, you know, when we get into it, I'm like, you know, there's other people who agree with you. You just need to hear it. And to get back and forth, her passionate and goes to, so I added there, but I think the discourse also invites invitation for great discussion. Because again, some things like, hey, listen, I'm a critic. I do this now, like back to back, like on a daily now. Like here we are. We're on tomorrow. We're doing House of Dragons, and it's like we both have different aspects of, well, we read the books, but they are experiencing the show and stuff, you know. So it's the same thing. So but again, I can't get enough of this. I mean, I enjoy it, but I know I come from it with good intentions. I know you guys too, and stuff. But yeah, I enjoy these discussions and stuff like that. So and I also think it's good for people, you know, audience to watch it, because how you do discourse, but also as you know, as we're moving forward within time, you know, obviously times change, you know, culture changes and stuff like that. It's still the sense of keeping, as a fandom, to keeping the passion, understanding that even though I have a disagreement, knowing that I love this property, I love Star Wars, even though Star Wars is not what it used to be. It's like, to me, it's a theatrical event. Star Wars is not events anymore, and that's okay. And that's okay right now. You know, I can say that because I still have, you know, my DVDs and Blu-rays, you know, in the living room.
You can go back to the books anytime you want. You can go read.
I got my books and stuff. I still got my Legends and stuff. Listen, the Heir to Empire, you know, Thrawn trilogy and stuff. I got that. So it's like, hey, but and I think for people who are new Star Wars fans and stuff, you go enjoy it as you will and stuff. But if it's good, it's good. If it's not, I'd say I take it with a grain of salt. But I'm going to give my I'm trying to be objective as possible by giving my subjective opinion. If you get what I was trying to say with that. Yeah. But yeah. I just want to say where anybody's socials you can find you, J. King.
Well, outside of finding me here, you can of course find me on Instagram. Link should be down in the description.
Oh, I'm making a point not to be found, but you can find me most times at JVS. But that's what the scripture reads. I'm like a part-timer JVS, like Batman to Justice League. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
And if you get us really late at night, it gets crazy. So
oh yeah. Yeah.
this is
yeah.
this is tame. This is tame and rated G for it gets wild, guys. JVS After Dark coming soon.
Yeah, JVS Team JVS After Dark. Black Sector. Yes, but but no, yeah, you can find me on YouTube and on Instagram at JediMy7. I just posted my review for Inside Out 2, which will be coming out, the film coming out Friday, but my review, non-spoiler review, is up already. And also got House of Dragons and The Boys will be coming up very soon. So make sure your notification bell, and stay tuned to any uploads, and also interviews that will be coming very, very soon. All right, guys, we'll see you guys next video. Peace.